And there we are live from Victoria Scandic Hotel in Kista with a fantastic group of people here in the room, but also with us on camera. Say hi to the camera, everybody over there. So my name is Ola Ahlvarsson, and I have the pleasure to open up today. And I'm also part of the jury, so it's going to be very exciting to see what you guys come up with during these days. It's quite interesting because technology actually made me not find this house. I grew up in Ursvik. It's 2 kilometers away from here. I've been sort of running around playing cowboys and Indians here, and because my iPhone told me I was not here, I was driving somewhere else. But then again, I got champagne when I got here, so I'm fine. Sorry to keep you waiting. Little bit about my background. I have been an entrepreneur most of my life. One of my first ideas was actually something called TSS2. It was 87, and TSS2 stands for Telephone Sound Selector 2. It was called 2 because I was 17 years old, so I was going to imply that it was like the second generation of these items. And it made you able to change your ringtone. It was a completely crazy idea back in those days. And I thought it would be a work environment product, so that you could have your children laughing or your dog barking instead of being irritated by everybody else's telephone signal, because they all sounded the same back in those days. So I went to I think I had 100 meetings over a year, 2 years, and everybody told me, that's a child's dream, that's not a business idea, who cares about the ringtones, this is not serious. So I realized that I was wrong, so I scrapped the ringtone business. That was never going to happen. My next idea, it was even more bold. It was to take over all the schedules for the subway. So instead of having a boring little booklet with sort of timetables, I would sell the ads in that. And there would be cool ads, and I would print it for free for SL. Then I developed it a little bit and said, why not make the first free newspaper in the subway? Absolutely mind-boggling idea. And I named it Metro under Stockholm. And then I bought my first suit, and now I was 18, and I went up to the woman who's in charge of bad ideas at SL. And I came up there, a little bit too big with the suit because I was going to grow in it. And I explained about Metro under Stockholm. It was green, 5 pages for SL, every issue for free. And the first issue was famous Swedes on why they used the subway. She told me after sort of 10 minutes, stop. This, we can't take this serious because this is not really a business idea that we can support, and you don't know how to run an editorial staff, and you don't know how to run a business. And but finish school, and maybe you can come back here to us at SL, and you'll have a future here with us. So I scrapped Metro under Stockholm. 4 years later, some really talented people at Kinnevik, great journalists and intrapreneurs, they created Metro, and that's today the largest newspaper in the world. When they did so, my would-be chief editor called me and screamed, there's some asshole named Kinnevik that stole our idea. We must do something. For me, that is to date the most important experience in my business career. I realized that just having an idea, it's not an asset, it's a liability. To know that there's blueberries in the Ursvik's forest is not a business idea. If you can have a blueberry factory and sell jam to happy customers and get a margin, that's a business idea. And usually the fastest and surest route to get there is by aligning with the right constellations and people. So since then, I've been obsessed with sharing my ideas with people, bringing people into teams doing things together. Because many more times have I seen ideas getting fertilized by sharing them than I've seen people stealing ideas. People don't really steal ideas. The only people that say that are people that don't have very successful ideas and they haven't taken off. They speak a lot about somebody stealing their idea and it's so secret. Most of the most successful entrepreneurs share their ideas. Since then, I've been working with a lot of different companies, and in my first more successful adventure was when we started a bulletproof vest factory. It's on the road here. It's called Swedish Body Armor Group. And we had amazing products like the bulletproof and knife-proof vest. You didn't have to decide whether you would get shot or stabbed. That was one of our killers. Or the very innovative hard balls, the first anti-ballistic grow-in cups, also a big seller. And it's still around. It's on the way to Arlanda, Swedish body armor group. You've probably seen it, some of you. But there, most of the customers, they were either Hells Angels, Bandidos, or the police. And typically, Bandidos came in the morning and said, "We gotta get vests right now," and they weren't very price sensitive. Hells Angels came after lunch, and they weren't very price sensitive. And then the police came day after and said, "Anything peculiar going on lately?" And then we sold them some hard balls as well. So that's kind of the trick. What I learned during that journey was that if you don't really like the industry and empathize with the customers and really care about the customers, it's not as much fun and you're not as good as it as if you really, really care about what you're doing. So since then I've been trying to add what am I passionate about and have that as a strong component when I choose things to work with. Mid-90s we started a company called Boxman, and we sold CDs online. It was also a very innovative idea. Doesn't sound so innovative nowadays, but you couldn't pay online, you couldn't get photos online. There was a lot of different things you couldn't do online back then. We had 1 million customers, 97, 98, buying CDs online, and it was really, really early days. I was in charge of taking this international, and I realized that Europe is an illusion. I know a lot less about Albania than I know about the US, a lot less about Greece than I know about Canada. So I tried to go out and open up this company in all these different countries. And on the plane, there were about 20 people with they also had delusions of grandeur, a lot of venture capital, and thought they were going to do quick European rollout in 6 months. One of the experience that I learned there is do something really well somewhere before you try to roll it out everywhere. And that international is a lot of different national. 99 we started a company that I'm still involved with called Result, and we help companies grow internationally. So when somebody has an idea that grows somewhere, we have offices around the world that can help Blocket grow into new countries, or LinkedIn go pan-European, or Google go to Sweden for the first time. So I've been working with, I think to date is around 300 entrepreneurs ventures, rolling them out internationally, and seeing a lot of what works and what doesn't work. One of the reasons I'm here, there's a number of reasons. One of them is that I'm fascinated about what's happening when health meets digital. I've been working in digital since mid-90s when I fell in love with the internet, and we also have something called SIME, which is one of the larger meeting places it's an event that we have in Stockholm. 1,800 people come together from all walks of life, and we look at what happens in society and in business when things get more connected. Up until 2 years ago, nobody said the word health or thought about any connection to that. It was all about music industry or mobile industry or all these other industries transforming. Last year, and especially this year, everybody is speaking about health. What happens when we have, if Ericsson is true, our neighbors here, 50 billion connected devices by 2020. Everything that can have a chip will have a chip. What happens when we are the last generation that will not have a perfect digital diary of all our lives? Every photo you've been on, every place you've been, every email you've sent, every song you've listened to. I met a company yesterday that many of you might have heard of, Memoto. Anybody heard of Memoto? Raise a hand. Oh, hacker crowd. Yeah. They film everything, 2 photos per minute. They life log. So I could go back and see dinner with wife, what did it look like? Which music did we play? I can get that from Spotify. And I can sort of have a perfect digital diary of my life. What's going to happen with that? Is that the most secret thing we have? No, honey, you can't see it. It's my timeline. Or will that be a requisite when you apply for a job somewhere? If you apply that to your medical history and to everybody else's, what will happen with that? What happens if your toilet says you forgot to take your vitamins? What happens if your doctor can see you have vinterkräksjukan, the winter throw up disease, and your phone has been close to these other phones, so he sends them a text, say, go with your winter throw up disease. I mean, there's so many things that can be done, and to quote Jeff Bezos, which is an inspiration, the Amazon founder, he said that when they dug up all of Manhattan to get light bulbs into the first houses, they had no vision of other products than the light bulb. He says that we're just approaching the light bulb stage of digital and about what connectivity will do to society. We're the first generation to have access to all the knowledge in the world. And 6,000 days ago, there were two guys scratching their head and thinking about internet. Now, in 10 years, there's going to be twice as many as we have today. If you wanted to do things, when we started online, it was $10 million to get a website up and running, and it had 40% downtime. Our first time, Boxman had 40% downtime. Whoa, it's above 50. Now, you can get exactly the same service, with the exception that it works. For $19.99, you just plug your business idea into the wall, and you just pay as you use computational power. Cloud computing is completely going to lower the barriers for smart people to try new ideas. Language barriers are going away. App stores and Google and Microsoft and others are enabling us to market new things. So what I think is that we're going to have hyper innovation coming our way. Kind of like when anybody could do music. It didn't necessarily lead to a lot more YouTubes out there, but there are tens of millions of people making songs. Many of them nobody ever hears. So what I think that we must be very good at in the region, and that's why I'm super excited of what we're going to do here the next couple of days, and also the digital health days that we're going to have 21st, 22nd of August, where the best ideas here will have a main stage in front of hundreds of venture capitalists and decision makers and large medtech and life science companies, is that if we can build this cluster of people that think together and do things together and connect that to money and to large corporations that have a much larger reach than young entrepreneurial companies, I think that we can do exactly what happened in the internet industry, take a leadership position. So I think that's a fascinating outlook, and I think that with the group of people that you have here in the room, when we're here on Sunday, a lot of new things will be created that is extremely valuable if put into the right context rather than kept as secrets or something else. So those were some initial words, and Johan Stahl von Holstein, many of you know, an internet entrepreneur, he described the sum of all ideas in the world. They all look like this. Every business plan you ever saw always looked like this. Whereas in reality, every entrepreneurial product he's seen, or I've seen, they always look very differently. It's like, we're going to do this. This is the plan. It's like, nobody cares, nobody cares, nobody cares. And it's like, whoa, we're going to get our first client. Oh no, somebody called Bin Laden blew up some towers. Oh, then we started fighting with each other. And then we got a patent. And after twice or 4 times as long time, after 3-4 times as much money, and after no revenues for a long time, a lot of these companies actually take off and become something. So I think that being an entrepreneur, it's a lot about persistence and a lot about the passion to actually smile and just laugh in the face of uncertainty, because creating companies is not something for the faint-hearted.